a 3 by 3 matrix, you're going to find the determinant. So you remember when we had a 2 by 2 matrix that where we had A, B, C, D, and then we had to find the determinant of that. And the formula for that was AD minus BC. So we would go diagonal the AD, multiply them together, diagonal the BC, multiply those together, and the key here is that you have to subtract. So we did this before. So as a reminder, as an example, when I look at this 2 by 2 matrix, I'll go diagonally 3 times 8, 3 times 8, and then diagonally negative 2 times 5, but I need to remember that I'm going to subtract. So you got to put a minus in there. So now I have the 5 times negative 2, or the negative 2 times 5, and you have to notice that the subtract is a different negative than the negative 2. So you're going to get 24 plus 10, which is 34. So the determinant of this 2 by 2 matrix is 34. So what we're going to do is get a little crazy, and instead of doing 2 by 2, we're going to do a 3 by 3. And that may look a little bit more intimidating. It probably is. But you've got A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. So you have this 3 by 3, and we're going to find the determinant of the 3 by 3. And the formula gets a little bit crazy, but if you notice the pattern, it's not so bad. So here's the formula. And before you freak out, let's go through it. I mean, it is A times the determinant of E, F, H, I minus B times the determinant of D, H, G, I plus C times the determinant of D, G, H. Okay, that looks scary. But we're going to do this one column at a time. So let's look at this again. Notice that we've got A, B, and C. So from that top row, I write the top row in front of each of these 3 determinants. So I'm just going to use the A, B, C. I'm going to use the top row. And then I really want to notice that it's negative B. A is regular, C is regular, and B is negative. So whatever B is, you're going to have to change the sign. Change the sign. So let's start with the first column. I'm looking at A. And when I'm looking at A, I'm blocking out the rest of the column. So I have A, and then I'm looking at that bottom 2 rows that's not blocked out. So it's the E, F, H, I. And then I'm going to move to the second column, and I'm going to look at the B. So notice when I look at the B, I'm blocking out the middle column. I'm looking at the B, and in this case, actually negative B, negative. And what I'm left with on the bottom 2 rows is D, F, G, I. D, F, G, I. So I'm just looking at the bottom. I'm already using the top row, so I'm just looking at the bottom 2 rows. And then I'm going to look at the third column, column C. I'm going to block out column C. So it's going to be C times what's left over. So those bottom 2 rows, I'm left with D, E, G, and H. So that is the formula. So once you pick up the pattern, this really isn't so bad. You block out the first column, block out the second column, block out the third column. Watch out for that minus. So let's do an example. So first, I'm going to look at the first column. So I'm looking at 3. So I have 3, and then I'm left with the 8, 1, negative 2, and 0. So that is going to be 3 times the determinant of 8, 1, negative 2, and 0. Then I'm going to minus, next part's minus, looking at the second column. So it's negative 4, and I'm left with 2, 1, 6, and 0. But don't forget it's got to be minus. So you got to look at that. It is minus negative 4, and if you minus negative 4, it's going to become plus 4. So be careful about that. On that middle one, you will change the sign. And again, I'm left with 2, 1, 6, and 0. And last but not least, the third column, I'm looking at the 5, so blocking out the 5. And if you look at the bottom 2 rows, I am left with 2, 8, 6, and negative 2. So I have 5, and 2, 8, 6, and negative 2. Notice here how I wrote the 4 as a plus, though, when I rewrote this, because it was minus negative 4, so that's plus 4. So I changed that sign of the 1 in the middle. So I've set this up. I'm nowhere near done here because now I got to do another few steps of arithmetic. But this is setting up the formula. So my next step is I need to find the determinant of each of those 3 2x2s. So I got to go diagonal, diagonal, diagonal. So I have the 3 is then 8 times 0 minus 1 times negative 2. So I'm going diagonal and I subtract. And then the next one is I'm going to do the 2 times 0 and the 1 times 6. So it would be 4 times 2 times 0 minus 1 times 6. And then the third one, I do 2 times negative 2 and 6 times 8. So I have 5 times the 2 times negative 2 minus the 8 times 6. So again, just need a little bit more arithmetic here, following order of operations, order of operations. So with that first one, I'm going to get 3, and then I get 0 plus 2. 3 times 2 is 6. And then the second one, I get 4, and then it's 0 minus 6. 4 times negative 6 is negative 24. And last but not least, I've got 5 times negative 4 minus 48 would be negative 52. So 5 times negative 52 is negative 60. So I have these 3 parts. I need to add them together. So 6 plus negative 24 plus negative 260 is negative 278. So the determinant is negative 278.